Okay, so like I said I would, I've made it back here to the National Gallery of Art. We came here for our Christmas photos, but of course, being an artist or being in the art community, I absolutely loved what I saw. I had to come back. I had to come back at a time where I could take my time and just really, yeah, really take it all in. Oh, I see. Just really take it all in. Absolutely. So I'm back. I'm excited. I'm going where the Impressionists are because that's one of my favorite times in all of European-centric art history. So you're kind of living vicariously through me. Let's get going. So this seems like just a stairwell to everybody else, but this is actually a stairwell that has a little bit of significance to me and the woman I've pledged my life to, in that we took pictures on this stairwell for our Christmas cards. They turned out very nice, of course, because we have the best photographer in all of DC, and I will fight you on that because he's awesome. That right there is a painting that the woman I pledged my life to was like, yo, is that Napoleon? And we had to come up and take a look at it later to find out that no, it's not, but we thought it was. And coming up is going to be one of the grandest features that you're going to see while you're here. Are y'all ready? Let's go. Yes. This water fountain is phenomenal and absolutely beautiful. It's hard to put it into words. It really is. It's something that no matter how you feel about art, whether you're an appreciator, whether you're a critic, you just have to stop and just pay attention and take a second. Maybe it's something about the rushing water that just makes us naturally want to calm down and be calm and still. Maybe it's the beautifully arranged flowers. Maybe it's the sculpture. It could be a lot of stuff. I just know it's beautiful. So there's a line for something, except there's not really a line. But I kind of just go where my feet takes me, so we'll see where I end up. I'm excited to see how this turns out. So one thing I never considered about the Impressionist movement was that the French had just lost the Franco-Prussian War years earlier. It's undeniable that this cynicism that the feel when you lose, especially a war, was playing a part in the back of all the painters' minds. This right here that I'm going over is a map. It shows the destruction wrought by the civil insurrection between the French National Army and the Commune government. Orange shading, in this case, buildings that were destroyed by fires, including the Tuileries. Oh. The city hall was severely damaged. These circles that you see going around are the train and rail lines. A careful observer will notice that the Eiffel Tower, which is very central to Parisian identity, it's like a Parisian landmark, it's not on this map. And that's because it was completed in 1889, and this map was done in 1871. The more you know. Okay, so I'm here standing in front of the most... Oh, you're good. I'm here in front of the most consequential painting of the Impressionist movement. Here we have Claude Monet's Impression, Sunrise. It's from the title of this painting that gave the movement its name. And originally, the movement, as it was thought to be at the time, was called Impressionist by the critic His last name was Leroy, like Eric Leroy, Cedric Leroy, something like that. And he was using it as an epithet. He was using it as the cuss words. He was saying that this style of painting is a little more than a sketch. It just gives you the impression of what real art should be. But the title caught on, and now we have the whole Impressionist era. So, started as hate, now it's real. We often talk about putting your homies on, and my man Camille Cabaillot-Lassalle did exactly that. He's credited as the author, but it's really a collaboration effort. He painted the foreground and then invited 6 of his homies to come and paint these little paintings that you see inside as a showcase of the works of art that they were going to do in the upcoming exhibition. So by coming and looking at this, you got a preview of the art and artists that you was going to see if you went to the exhibition. This is what it's like when you put your homies on. This is what it's about. Big ups. Okay, so here we have a painting by Eva Gonzalés. Yes, Eva Gonzalés. She was a painter from the Impressionist era. And you don't hear a lot about the female painters from that era. In fact, it wasn't until like 1958, and I forget the name of the book it was in, that people even began to give them notice, let alone recognition. Even within their time, they were derided for being females and for painting. Painting at that time was considered unladylike. You were expected to be a homemaker, and nurture children. So they were definitely going against the grain from this. And I think a lot of that gets reflected in their art. They were confined by society, and this may be a little bit too much artistic liberty, but I feel like that comes through here. This painting is called the Opera Box or something along those lines. I don't exactly know Italian, but you see the woman there who isn't pictured in traditional French femininity. She's not doing not with kids or in the home. She's at an opera box, and she seems to be looking past us, a little bit to the side, as though she's lost in thought. That kind of intellectual thing wasn't really, it was frowned upon for females back then. And here we have front and center this woman, but you can still see signs of being confined there. You have the curtains on the left, which is like the bounding box of the opera box itself. And then you have the dude on the right who's there. So even though her mind is wandering, he's still there, kind of like a chaperone or something along those lines. Yeah. Just want to give a little bit of context and some things that I thought about this really awesome painting from a painter who largely went unnoticed until like 70 years ago, Eva Gonzalés. And if you don't know, watch Eyes Wide Shut. So I'm highlighting this painting by Ernst Duez, because we often think of people way back then being prudish and chaste, when in fact they were just as nasty as we are today. So this painting here is called Splendeur. And if you're not a part of the culture at the time, it just looks like a painting of a woman with a dog, maybe affluent based on the way the dog is, the jewels that she has on, her rings, her earrings, those kind of things. But actually, if I can get a little closer, there we go. You see she has on heavy makeup, and she has on some very, what they call affluent clothing of the time. Back then, they would have called her, what's the word? A courtesan. They would have called her a courtesan back then. Nowadays, we would say prostitute or hoe. And apparently, she was a very affluent one, or one who had access to very high-ranking clientele who could afford to buy her gifts that were so lavish. Again, the makeup, the jewels, the dog, the clothing. This tradition is continuing on even today. If you listen to stripper raps such as Meg Thee Stallion and City Girls, and they say, you know, F 'em for a bag, get your money, get flued out. That's a whole song, get flued out. So they weren't really all that chaste back then. They weren't so pure and pious. They were just as nasty as we are today. So here we have So here we have the Ludovic Napoleon Lepic's paintings of the flood. And while only 2 paintings survived, the left and the right, there was a central one in the side, in the center here. It would have been a scene depicting the flood from the Bible. And from those not familiar, the Bible, I believe in Genesis, talks about how God wanted to start over with his creations. So he sent a massive planet-wide flood. And the only people who survived were Noah and his family by building an ark and taking 2 of every creature onto this ark. Yes, he even brought 2 mosquitoes for some reason, like for real, man, come on. Anyway, after water subsided, Noah sent out different animals to see if it was safe to go back on land. So he sent out a crow and he sent out a dove. Only the dove came back, and it was to bring back an olive branch to show Noah that everything was safe and you can return. It's why in colloquial terms we say, hey, we're extending an olive branch when we're trying to make peace with somebody. I just like the way that he's focusing on the creatures more so than the ark itself or on Noah. I also love how prominent this raven is, not just because I'm close to Baltimore, but because the ravens in many cultures represent death, as contrasted with the dove, which is thought of as peace and piety and prosperity and stuff. These are just 2 really good paintings, and it's sad that the 3rd one is lost to time. Okay, y'all, so I'm really geeking out right now. Y'all know Claude Monet is one of my favorite painters ever. And earlier this year, I got to visit his exhibit and walk through this painting here. This painting here, the Japanese footbridge. It's one of my most favorite paintings in all of his collection. And I got to walk through it earlier, and I get to be here and see it now. This is just absolutely amazing. There are so much emotions going on right now. All right, so that was it. That was the National Gallery of Art, and I am still pumped. Oh my God, I am just absolutely geeked up right now. I got to see some of my favorites in real life. I got to see so many things. Man, yeah, I'm glad y'all could be there with me. I hope it was like y'all was there too. That's life. I hope it was like y'all was there too. And if you've never been to DC and been to the National Gallery of Art, I hope this makes you want to go. It's free. Just skip out of work or something, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I hope it makes you want to go if you haven't been. Cheers, y'all.